that goes with it. And when you ask them what's wrong, they always answer what? Nothing. People who use hurt have one goal: to make you feel guilty. And if they can make you feel guilty, you'll give in and do what they want. People that use anger have one goal, and their goal is to frighten you, to intimidate you. Hopefully that if they can intimidate you, you will then give up and do what they want. People who use hurt are just as aggressive as people use anger. And here's what I want you to know. Ladies and gentlemen, I can be mad at you, or I can be really sad at the drop of a hat. It's an act. The next time you're around a difficult person, I want you to understand it's an act. The next time you are using hurt and anger, I want you to realize this: you will get your short-term needs probably met. If you can make people feel guilty enough or scare them enough, they will probably give in to you for the short term. But for the long term, they will move into number 4. Number 4, the third way to cheat. How many of you in here have someone in your life that deserves to be taught a lesson? How many of you are in the process of doing that as we speak? Passive-aggressive is when you want to pay someone back, you have some feelings, but you decide not to be grown-up and assertive. You decide not to be passive and just ignore it. You decide not to be aggressive and let them know how you feel. Instead, you go underground. To their face, you act fine, but behind their back, you cause serious suffering. At work, it can be gossiping, it can be tattling, it can be territorialism, it can be backstabbing. With children, sometimes it's grades. Well, how to destroy a family, bring home an F, and watch your parents go absolutely out of their minds. Sometimes in a marriage, it's withdrawing attention or affection. I'm mad at somebody, so I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to speak to them. I'm not going to touch them. That'll teach them. And here's the saddest thing about passive-aggressive. When you and I are trying to pay someone back, we are so busy seeking vengeance that we don't realize how much we're hurting ourselves. Passive-aggressive takes a toll on the person who is doing the revenge as well as the person that it's aimed for. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what communication is about. Every time you open your mouth, every time we pass each other in the hall and you make eye contact with me, every single move you make, you are choosing one of these. And my question would be to you this: you want to keep your job, you want to stay employable, you want to be successful, then learn how to be assertive. Don't back off and be passive. Don't use emotions to manipulate and get your needs met. And don't go underground and sabotage people. And passive-aggressive is what a lot of employees are doing now with their companies. They don't like the change, so they don't speak up at a meeting. When the boss says, what do you think of this? They don't raise their hand and assertively give their feelings. They don't say a word. And they leave the room and go, this isn't going to work. I'm going to make sure that this one doesn't work. You have an employee at work and you aren't getting along. You could be assertive. You could walk up. You could talk to them. You could share with them. You could help them out. You have another department that you're having a problem with. You know what happens in most companies? Instead of us picking up the phone and calling the other department and saying, look, you guys are overworked, we're overworked, here's what's happening, how can we help you? No. We tattle to our manager. Our manager goes to their manager, and their manager calls the whole department in and says, such and such a department isn't happy with you. Now, do you think we've opened up better relationships in the company? No. All we've done is ensure that this other department will move into what? Oh, they didn't like the fact they didn't get their mail by 10? How are they going to like 4? Communication is important. If we want to be grown up, if we want to be mature, and if we want to get our long-term needs met, both in personal and professional relationships, we'll learn how to communicate assertively. And the last one, ladies and gentlemen, is leadership. Companies and employees and customers alike, they want people who exhibit good leadership skills. How many of you in here right now are in a leadership position in your company? Hands up. See, what bothers me is I have people whose hands aren't raised, which means that you don't understand the definition of leadership. Leadership is not about a title, and it's not about a degree, and it's not about your little name on the plate. Leadership, how many of you leave your home ever during a day? How many of you ever leave your home? The moment you do, you have accepted a leadership position. When you're in the grocery store, you're in a leadership. A leadership position means that you are in a position where someone can watch you. They can watch how you dress, they can watch how you act, they can watch how you speak, and they could possibly follow you or imitate your behavior. Some people say, I just don't like leadership. I just don't want that. If you go to work and choose to never speak, you've assumed a leadership role because somebody's going to watch you and imitate that. Well, she never talks. I'm not going to talk either. That's a leadership role. So ladies and gentlemen, leadership means that you realize that every second you are at work, you are a role model for someone else. But now let's talk about management. If you all in here were managers, and I would assume that most of you are aspiring to somehow move up in your company, somehow take charge. And some of you that never want to be a manager, if you're doing a great job at what you're doing, you're going to be asked to fulfill that role probably at some point. So let's talk a little bit about management. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were my manager and I came to work for you next Monday, Monday was my first day of work, I would have you figured out by Friday. By Friday, I would know, number one, if you are truly in charge of this department. Are you really the manager of this department? Or are there 2 and 3 employees who have little attitudes and they kind of run the show and you really don't have the courage or the skill or the talent to really overcome those people? I will know how I have to dress at work. I will know whether I have to come on time. I'll know whether I can bring my personal life to work. I'll know whether there's little cliques and we gossip and we tattle, or whether that's not allowed in your department. Ladies and gentlemen, as managers, you set the tone totally for how functional and healthy this environment is. By watching you. How do you work? How do you handle change? How do you handle stress? And when I talk to managers, one of the things I say to them is the word that has got to come out of your mouth all the time is the word I, not the word they. Often, managers, here's a line right here. Over here, top senior management of a company. Over here are all the rest of the employees. As a manager, you cannot walk this line in the middle. And that's what a lot of managers are doing now, especially in times of stress and change. They go into a senior management meeting and senior management says, here's what we're going to do. Now, as a manager, you can fight in that room. I don't think it's going to work. And have you thought about, you have an obligation, a responsibility to bring up every point that you think won't work. But once policy has been set and you leave that room and that change is going to be implemented and you walk back into your department and you face the people that look to you for leadership, there is no they. We can't come back and say, well, guess what they did now? I don't know how they expect us to do this, but I just do the best you can because I don't know how. You can't do that. As a leader, you come back in and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And here's the change. It may be difficult, it may be hard, but you know what? We're up to it. We are going to make this work. If there's any department that can work together now and make this work, it's going to be us. And I'm here to help you all that I can. Ladies and gentlemen, codependency. In marriage, it means if I'm married to you and I'm addicted and you love me and lie for me and make excuses for me, that probably I'll never, ever quit my addiction. But there's a codependency at work. And codependency at work means that if you're my manager and I'm lazy or apathetic, I have an attitude, I bring my personal life to work, I'm territorial, I gossip, I tattle, I treat my customers poorly. If I do any or all of those things, and you keep paying me every other Friday a salary, then I'm not the one who needs therapy. There's one reason why people behave inappropriately. What is it again? It works. So ladies and gentlemen, for all of you in this room who are in a management position, I look to you for everything. And I also look to you to create a functional environment that is safe, is consistent, that it's fair, where I feel valued as a person. There's only 2 reasons why an employee will not work to their maximum potential. Only 2 reasons. They are either unable to do it or they are unwilling to do it. If you're my manager, if I'm unable to do my job to the best of my ability because I don't have the staff or the resources, I don't have the training, I'm in the wrong job, whatever it is, that's your job to help me. Your job as my boss, as my manager, is to do everything in your power. Fight for me. Be my advocate. Help get me what I need to be successful. But ladies and gentlemen, if I have the resources that everyone else has, I have the same amount of staff, I'm in the right job, I have the training, and I have the knowledge, and I come to work day after day after day and simply don't do the job because I'm unwilling, then that's your problem as a manager. And you need to take care of it. And probably I should be history. Unable to do the job is about skill. Unwilling to do the job is about attitude. My husband works for Southwest Airlines. Their bottom line, the motto that has made them probably to date one of the most successful airlines there is they hire for attitude. They train for skill. Ladies and gentlemen, we can teach you skills. We can mentor you, we can coach you, we can remediate you, we can train the skill part. We can't teach an attitude. So for all of you that are in a management position or leadership and you have a chance and opportunity to interview, that's what we do. We hire for attitude. We keep employees on for attitude. We give people raises and bonuses for attitude. It's the little pink elephant in the room that no one talks about, but ladies and gentlemen, that's where it is. If your name is being brought up in a room, how do people talk about you when your name comes up? Do they talk about you because you're a positive force, you come to work and you're willing to try, you're hardworking, you never stop, you're resilient, when changes take place, even if you don't think they'll work, you give them your best shot, you avoid gossiping, you avoid tattling, you leave your personal life at work, and you know that your job has to dramatically affect their ability to keep their customers, bring in new customers, and work hard and save money? Is that what they talk about? Or, when your name comes up, do they go, oh, can we do this after lunch? Do we have to talk about this person now? Do you have a reputation for always being negative and in a bad mood, and people have to follow around you and make sure that you turn things in on time because you don't remember, and you're always on the phone, and you're always upset, and you're always mad? Ladies and gentlemen, if you were CEO of your own company, which person do you want to fight for? Which one? I'm going to ask you 2 questions now. They're the most important 2 questions you'll ever be asked in your life. You will never be asked 2 questions more important than this. And I will tell you this, if you cannot answer yes to both of these questions, you aren't happy. And statistics would say that 2/3 of you in this room will only be able to answer yes to one of these questions, and 1/3 of you in this room won't be able to answer yes to either one of these questions. Question number 1. Every morning that you wake up and you get dressed and you eat your breakfast and you pick up your car keys and you drive to work, is this what you want to do with your life? Are you in an industry that you have a passion for? And in that industry, are you working for a company whose product and service you respect? And at work, do you surround yourself with people in your department who, for the most part, you like and you trust and you respect? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sick of people whining, I don't like my job, I hate my job. How long have you worked there? 12 years. Well, who's stupid? Your company didn't send a van to pick you up. Right? You drove there. That's called an adult voluntary choice. And yet we have some employees who act like the company sent a van, they picked them up, they paralyzed them from the neck down with an injection, put them on a gurney, drove them, and then taped them, tied them into a chair, and just in case they might quit during the day, they're keeping all their immediate family members hostage, and they will execute them one by one if they resign. That's not the case. How many of you drove yourself to work? How many of you parked your own car? How many of you walked into the building? And the second question is this. At the end of every day, when you've turned the last computer off and you've picked up your car keys and you've worked a long, hard, productive day, and you get in that car and you make your second most important choice of the day to drive home, is this where you want to sleep at night? Do you drive yourself home every night to a place that is abuse-free, that is addiction-free, safe, loving, supportive? I don't care whether you live alone, spouse, significant other, family, or friends. Do you drive yourself home and spend the night in a place that you feel good about yourself? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't answer yes to both of these questions, all the money in the world won't make you happy. All the promotions in the world, all the titles in the world, all the results, sales, nothing is going to make you happy until you are able to answer yes to both of these questions. In closing, I want to ask you one more important question. And the question is this: how much is your life worth? And the reason why I'm asking this question